Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
There you go, Rick. Just for you. Nancy Sinatra.
Oh, is that Nancy?
These gum boots are made for walking.
Oh, these.
Today's guests are brought to you by Optic Foliar.
Let it breathe. I want to hear her say gumboots.
Well, this is an LG 73.
Which was a great station in the 80s.
In the 70s. And before that, LG standing for Lionsgate. John Shannon knows that. He's standing by.
I didn't know that.
The only lights on spray, not John, but Optic Foliar, with no damage and no burning to your plant leaves. You okay? What's wrong? Plant efficiency, nutrition, and results all combined into a single solution for all stages of growth and safe to use on flowers. Spray it, see it, believe it. That's Optic Foliar. Visit this made in BC company online at opticfoliar.ca. I'm not going to date you, John, but I'm sure you remember Nancy Sinatra as we bring in John Shannon, NHL analyst.
I'll tell you what, CKLG 73 boomed into my hometown.
Yeah,
big time every day. One of the great things was that, in my opinion, the best DJ there was, and I'm going to get emails from guys, it was a guy named Bob Boving. Bob Boving was the DJ there for years. And when I took over Hockey Night in Canada, the voiceover guy at the CBC in Toronto was Bob Boving.
Oh,
so it was full circle for me that I got to work with. I got to work with a guy I used to listen to when I was 12 years old, and my mother said, "Turn the radio off." No way! Come on, they're gonna play rock and roll for a couple more hours.
Boy, you don't hear that anymore, John. Turn the radio off. No one's got a radio anymore.
No. Well, you know what? We got to find a way. There's still lots of consumers. They're just finding different ways to listen. That's all.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember Doc Harris in the morning. I believe he was at LG 73.
Graham Hatch and Dean Hill were the best.
Fred, well, and Latrimo was at 1410, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Fred
was
so good.
Yeah. We had Bill Daly on moments ago. What's in his future, John? Gary's pushing 70. Bill's in his 50s. What's in Bill Daly's future?
A good question. Let's face it. Bill has been a warrior for the NHL in so many ways, taking on always the tough files and doing the tough stuff. Gary, that's not to say Gary doesn't take on the tough stuff too, but what Daly has done with the international side, dealing with the union on a great deal, going through these lockouts and work stoppages. The question becomes when Gary leaves, because I know it's hard to believe, but Gary will leave at some point. I don't think it's soon. Will ownership, will the executive group and will the owners in the NHL think that it's time for a different style of leadership or a different philosophy, and will Bill get the chance? I don't. That's a really, really interesting question. At the Board of Governors meeting in December, in the executive committee, Gary was tossed out of the meeting because the 10 owners wanted to sit and discuss his future and whether they were going to give him an extension. We never hear whether he gets an extension or not. But when you get a sense of what he was talking about at the press conference after in Florida, it was, I'm here for a while, I'm here to stay, I'm not going anywhere. That gives you a sense that there's a tremendous amount of confidence amongst the owners about Gary Bettman and his future in the NHL. Two things. He wants to be there as longer than David Stern was at the NBA, and he wants to be longer than Clarence Campbell was at the NHL.
He has a sense of history then. What's your opinion of the job Gary, Bill, and company have done in the face of Omicron?
Well, what kind of job have all of us done in the face of Omicron? Because we just don't know when it's going to hit. It could be across the street. It could be, they took warning from the CDC. They took warning from Health Canada. They've been following this. They have their own medical committee that has worked very hard. This is one that in many ways took us all by storm and so quickly. And let's face it, the biggest challenge that they have dealing with Omicron is that our country has a different philosophy of how to manage it than the United States does. And so now the question becomes, is with more than 50% of the income of this league in the 7 Canadian teams, how do you get the most out of that when you have a few buildings that can't even put 200 fans in it? Those are the real challenges of managing it. And what now they have to do is 95 games they have to reschedule in order to try to find a way after people can start to show up, if that's possible, to play the games.
John, the Canucks still looking for a new GM. Jim Rutherford will do the hire. We're hearing a lot of former Penguins names. Patrick Alvin, he's already got Clancy here. Ryan Bonus, another name. What are you hearing on the GM search for the Canucks?
Well, to me, it certainly sounds like Patrick Alvin is at the top of the list by far. The Ryan Bonus one is an interesting one. I think Ryan is a really smart young hockey executive and done a marvelous job wherever he's been. He's pretty good bloodlines when you consider his dad is Rick, who coaches the Dallas Stars. But Ryan's worked hard at his craft and done an amazing job in the last few years trying to get to that next level. So that was an interesting name that popped up, and it wouldn't surprise me. The fascination for me with what's going on in Vancouver is that there's still a good core of people in that hockey operations group when you consider that Stan has, in theory, added responsibilities. Ryan Johnson's there. As this team wins, it makes you wonder how quickly Jim really needs to fill the job. Right. I suppose he has to have somebody or should have somebody in time for the trade deadline. Yeah. But he could do the trade deadline. The guys that are there could do the trade deadline. So really what we're talking about is trying to find somebody to get prepared for the summertime and for the draft and for free agency. So I'm not sure that Jim's in as much of a hurry as people have suggested. And the interesting thing is on the other side, I was told that Chicago was going to wait until the summertime to hire their guy, and now they're accelerating their GM search and are going to try to have somebody in place before the trade deadline.
So the Canucks, Bill Daly just told us 50% capacity for Saturday. The Leafs got none. It's all over the map, John. It's all over the map.
Well, and again, so it's 50% in Vancouver, 50% in Calgary and Edmonton, and then 250 people in Winnipeg, and then nothing in Ontario or Quebec. Yeah, it has made Steve Hatzopetrus's job, who's the schedule maker out of Montreal, it's made his job almost untenable. And what we're going to start to see, I think, when the new schedule comes out, is a lot more of swapping of games. So that if there was supposed to be a U.S. team coming to Toronto or Vancouver to play, then the Canucks or the Leafs or whoever will go to that city first. Then by the March, we'll see that team then play the game in Canada. We could end up with really, really back-ended schedules for Canadian teams at home.
Goaltenders, maybe the head coach. Do you have any solution to the Oilers' problems right now?
The goaltending one is an interesting one. Mm-hmm. By the way, I think they're still in a playoff spot, and they're still 4 games over 500. But there's just something missing. They don't even have bad luck anymore. They just have no luck. Mm-hmm. But with McDavid out of the lineup, I thought that they played one of their best games in a long time last night. Well, we're beaten by a better team. I don't think at this point Dave Tippett's in trouble. I do think that if we wait another 7 to 10 days and this trend continues, then that might change. And particularly because, and I know you guys have talked about it a lot, because of Bruce's success. Yeah. Bruce coming into Vancouver and doing what he's done has piqued a lot of interest from owners around the league saying, holy smokes. Mm-hmm. If we can go 8-0-1-2, maybe we should be thinking of something. And that's when GMs and presidents have to manage up well to say, hold your horses. And I think that I don't think that's happening yet in Edmonton. But if this trend continues a bit longer, maybe another week, we might have a different conversation next Thursday.
You know who loved this segment was Ralph Raccoon Carney, John. That's another name from the LG past, I believe. Mike McCoy.
Listen, we got him flooding in
Mike
now.
Mike McCoy. Mm. There we go. Mike McCoy. Mike McCoy, he was a big voice there. Absolutely. You know, listen when there was competing rock and roll stations in town.
Oh, so good.
Oh
so
man,
good.
that was what it was all about. And in my hometown in the Okanagan, you prayed that there was overcast because the AM radio signal carried that much farther.
And
so you could get AM radio from Vancouver in the morning.
Look where you started. Stu McAllister, the LG 73 Morning Zoo. Dean Hill, Graham Hatch, Stu Jeffries, Al Murdoch.
Stu Jeffries?
Yeah, Stu Jeffries. LG was powerful back in the days. Powerful.
Oh, no, it was, listen, Roy Hennessy. How about that one?
Yeah,
That's
real Roy Hennessy.
Roy Hennessy, who actually ended up running the place and was a pretty powerful guy in broadcasting in British Columbia for a long time after that. Listen, that was the golden age of radio.
I'll tell you what, John, LG 73 is now all traffic, and I bet you a lot of people are listening to it today. It is snowing here today, John.
That's true. Good point.
I dare I tell you, I had to walk the dogs today, and there's no snow. It's above zero.
Toronto.
It is. I mean, it's called the lake effect for a reason.
Yeah. And Jack Campbell made the save of the
decade.
decade.
I didn't even need to wear my gumboots.
Oh, yes.
I didn't need to wear my gumboots today. And I used to, when you grew up in a farm, everybody had a pair of gumboots at the back door.
I grew up on a farm. I had gumboots all the time, Johnny.
I think you've got John's old gumboots on.
I haul them
Here's
out.
the thing. I would always have a pair of loafers inside the house to wear when I went. And when I went to work, I'd have a pair of loafers. Yeah. So there should be a pair of loafers in the studio for you there, Rick.
Well, more on footwear next week, John. We'll discuss sandals.
Cheers, boys.
Happy New Year, by the way.
All right, John.